Welcome to the Digital Remodeler Podcast. I'm so glad you've chosen to join us today. And with me is Ashley DiBiase with Dash of Social. And Ashley, I'm so glad you've chosen to join us today and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Carl. I'm very excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Dash of Social.
Of course. Dash of Social is a content marketing agency that I started back in 2016. I'm based here in Massachusetts, but we work with clients all across the country, and we specialize in helping them with their content marketing strategies. So, primarily organic social media, blog content, email marketing, and overall marketing strategy and consulting.
Fantastic. So today we decided we're going to dive into a topic of partnership marketing. And, this is really an untapped strategy for a lot of home remodeling and residential construction contractors. And so, first of all, let's talk about what exactly is partnership marketing. If you could give a little explanation of that.
Absolutely. Partnership marketing, it can also be called a few different things, like joint content marketing is something you might hear as well. But ultimately, it's when two businesses who have complementary audiences come together to provide a valuable resource to their audience through some form of marketing. So that might be two businesses hosting a joint webinar. They might be doing some type of like cross promotion on social media, whether it's through like an Instagram live or anything like that. But ultimately, it's two businesses who are joined together who share a similar audience, who want to be able to support their audience and provide value to them in some way, but also help to grow their accounts by getting seen in front of that other partners, followers, subscribers, whatever method it might be that you're using to reach them.
Fantastic. I think one of the things that often is overlooked by a lot of business owners is just getting in front of somebody else's audience. And partnership marketing, wouldn't you agree, is one of the easiest ways to do that?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it from this sense. You're being able to leverage someone else's audience that they've spent the time, money, and effort building up to nurture and engage. And you're just being able to take advantage of their hard work and efforts and get seen in front of them.
Yeah, and let's get into this a little further as well. You're dealing with somebody else's credibility, and
Mhm.
so you're having to bypass, really getting to bypass, having to earn that trust. You're borrowing somebody else's credibility and trust for yourself. And so, if you could expound on that even a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, with many businesses in the home remodeling industry, I mean, chances are they've been around for several decades. It's something that they kind of get into and have spent all of that time being able to build trust within their community, have their community feels like they know them, and they probably get a lot of local referrals from their community. And so when you come in as another business owner and be able to find a way to partner with that business who has spent the time and spent the effort being able to build those relationships, that means that you're then kind of inheriting in that sense some of their credibility as well. Because by being able to partner with that original company, they're subtly, if they're not kind of at full right stating it or explaining it, they're subtly endorsing you because they wouldn't bring in someone that they don't trust and that they wouldn't recommend to their clients to work with. And so the people who are seeing this content, if they haven't heard of you before, they already are having some level of trust for you established in that sense just because they've known the person that is helping to create that content with you, and automatically kind of by nature that trust is getting passed on to you.
Yes. So let's kind of step back. I like the idea. I can borrow somebody else's credibility. I can save some money. But how does a business owner, I'm a remodeling contractor. I really would like to leverage somebody else's audience. What are maybe some of the best ways for me to get started? How do I find some of those partners to do that with?
Absolutely. So I think it really comes down to thinking about the other vendors or contractors that you frequently work on jobs with. So for example, one of our clients is a custom home builder, and this home builder is always working with the same landscaper, painter, plumber, HVAC, electrician. They're working with the same vendors over and over again. So when we post photos to social media of a home that's in progress or a project that's in the works, we're constantly tagging and giving credit to those other contractors within the caption itself. So it's something as simple and as natural as that, where you don't actually need to have a formal agreement or something that you come to terms with. You can just do it on your own. But also, too, Meta has a really great collab feature or collaborator feature where you can actually add someone as a collaborator to your Instagram post or to your Facebook post, and that person can then accept that collaboration request. So if you are that custom home builder who tags their plumber as a collaborator in their social media post, that plumber can choose to accept that request, and then that post gets added to their social media feed as well. So that's a great way to kind of have joint content in that sense without requiring much effort. And it's such a low lift that provides such a high level of positive outcome and feedback from it too.
Excellent. And I think you brought up something really great, Ashley. Sometimes we just need to think about who do we really engage with day to day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, through that, that could be the plumber, the HVAC, the electrician, the real estate agent, the interior designer, the other home service companies, pest control. There's just a multitude of vendors, subcontractors, people that you're going to be working alongside of that could fill that gap for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Absolutely.
you gave a couple of ideas, and I want to tap into this too, for cross promotion. So I love the idea of the collaboration feature on Meta. But what are some other, cross promotion and content collaboration ideas that should be explored?
Absolutely. I think a webinar is an easy way to do that. And even if you don't necessarily want to host a legitimate webinar, you could do a joint video where maybe you and someone else gets on Zoom together and you kind of have a certain topic that you'd like to tackle and maybe give your audience 3 to 5 takeaways from it. I think is great. But being able to host a webinar, of course, you get people who sign up for it and then they get added to your email list. So it's nice to be able to get email subscribers from that. But I think being able to think about a certain topic that your audience wants to know about and being able to film a video that answers that question or provides a solution to that problem is huge. So you had mentioned real estate agent as a vendor, which is a great one to bring up. I mean, a real estate agent could do some type of webinar or joint video with a landscaper, and they could talk about the topic of 5 things to look for in a landscaping company that you want to work with or hire. And it's as simple as that. And so it's being able to use that video for both companies and both audiences and be able to provide value in that sense and really ensure that you're delivering and supporting and helping your audience in some way.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you brought up, video for sure. And so video is a huge driver. And I'd kind of like you to elaborate on video because I noticed you really, move towards that video angle. Why is video so critical, especially in this cross promotion, cross collaboration, idea? Why would you want to lean to video as maybe even opposed to guest blogging or, giveaways, things like that? Why would video be such a powerful choice, maybe even above some of those other options?
Of course. So, firstly, video is such an easy and quick way to grab someone's attention. Online, people unfortunately tend to have lower and lower attention spans. And so, video is an easy way to just grab someone right off the bat. If they see some type of content with a lot of text, they might not necessarily be as inclined to read it. But if they see a video that's maybe 30 seconds long, 60 seconds long, they'll be hooked right in from there and be able to watch it. I also think too that video is a great way to show the human side of the business and the human content. I'm always a big advocate for humanizing your content and being able to showcase the people behind the business. And probably 9 times out of 10, with any form of content that we produce for our clients, we always see any type of content that shows human faces or employees or staff outperforming like a stock image or graphic or even just a regular photo. And so being able to also hear someone's voice and pick up on their facial expressions or how they speak, I think again helps to build that credibility that we were talking about earlier. And they feel like they connect with you right off the bat because they're picking up on your mannerisms. And so it really helps to kind of draw people in and make them feel like they know you, because once they know you, they start to like you. Once they like you, they start to trust you. And once they trust you, they give you their money. So video is a really great way to make that happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Know, like, and trust, the most important factors. So fantastic. And then, as we, start into this, collaboration, then you're able to really move into this concept of creating referral networks and joint venture, you know, relationships.
Mhm.
If you could delve into that a little bit, how this really can progress to more than just creating pieces of content together, but creating these networks for referrals and joint venture opportunities. If you would dive into that a little bit.
Absolutely. So I'll go back to the custom home builder example that I gave earlier. When a builder builds a home for their clients, chances are once their client moves in, they'll need all these different types of home services, whether it's a landscaper to keep up with that monthly maintenance, or if they decide to extend somehow and they need a plumber to help them with that, they'll seek these recommendations of people that they can trust. So if they see the home builder that they worked with and they had a wonderful experience with, and they see that this home builder is constantly endorsing and sharing the same people over and over again, that means that that person who's in need of those services will then be inclined to contact and reach out to the company that's been kind of supported throughout all this time. Also, too, I mean, people are constantly going to vendors that they've already worked with and saying, hey, I need to hire for X service. Who do you recommend? Who do you typically refer to your clients? And naturally, that can just lead to referrals and new clients and new opportunities from there. And so being able to partner with those companies or with those individuals who share a similar customer base to you and offer a complimentary service to yours can really help you to naturally bring in more clients or customers that you maybe wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And it's just a very great way to ultimately have someone do your marketing for you, I say, because they're kind of handling that word of mouth opportunity for you and knowing that you have someone advocating on your behalf.
Yeah, and then, as you develop that, of course, it's a two-way relationship, and
Mhm.
so as you prove out your trustworthiness in that relationship, that's going to prove out to be a very long-term, lucrative relationship over the years. In fact, and this probably been your experience, been our experience. Oftentimes, it's those referral networks drive some of the most profitable business, for the business owner. When they look at return on investment, that tends to be some of the highest ROI that they get.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's huge and it's such an easy lift too. I mean, of course, it takes a lot of effort and nurturing of being able to one, find those people that you can trust, and two, make sure that you're feeding those relationships. In addition to what you mentioned, Carl, of having that two-way street with it. But once you kind of build those relationships and have a great, I guess, working partnership with different people, it kind of almost goes on autopilot from there. So it's just something that people will constantly refer back to, and you don't need to necessarily spend a ton of time continuing to engage it or nurture it once those relationships have been set up. But it's just such an easy and great way to get new clients and customers that you truly love working with.
Absolutely. And let's, pursue this a little bit because you brought up a good point there, finding those right partners. And so what are some tips you have for number one, finding the right partners, but then also setting the right expectations? How do you go about doing that?
Yes. So, firstly, what I'll do is actually figure out what types of partners you need to begin with. So, that's as simple as kind of taking notes of what types of referrals your clients or customers are looking for. Like, if you constantly have a client, or if you constantly have clients or customers who are asking you about HVAC recommendations and you hear it over and over and over again, that's an indication to you that, hey, maybe I should find an HVAC person to have in my Rolodex because my customers are constantly looking for them. I think kind of just getting a feel for what types of businesses people need in the beginning is the first start. But honestly, I feel like I've been able to build and recommend to clients to build their referrals just by honestly doing cold outreach, just as something as simple and genuine as saying, hey, like this is who I am. I have a lot of clients or customers who are looking for the exact service that you offer. I'm looking to meet potential referral partners that I can send them to, and would love to just set up a time to connect, to learn more about who you are, what you do, and what you offer, and how you might be able to support them. And anyone, or I should say almost everyone, loves having the opportunity to potentially expand their client base. So more times often than not, they'll be inclined to want to accept that invitation and chat further. And also, chances are, if you need someone like them, they probably need someone like you in the service that you offer. And so it's just a great way to be able to expand on that. I also think too, if in the home remodeling industry specifically, if you're hired by a general contractor and you find that you're on the same job sites with the same types of companies over and over again, that's kind of like a natural way to say, hey, we've done a lot of work together, not necessarily directly, but just because of the GC that hired us together, it kind of like has already been able to build that relationship, or at least the foundation of it. And you can kind of explore what it might look like. So usually before I encourage clients to pursue these relationships further, I'd say maybe do like a test or trial run project just to see how you both work, make sure that you both feel good about the process, that the client or customer is happy before you go ahead and start finding all these projects that you can do together, just because you want to make sure that it's successful and off the right foot, and that you're not kind of making more challenges than outcomes that you are for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that as you were talking, I was thinking about so many, remodelers and residential contractors. You're already a part of networking groups, BNI
Mhm.
and things of that nature. So you've already got a natural place to start developing those relationships. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. Absolutely. And I mean, there's so many opportunities within that, and like the professional associations, being able to join those as well. I mean, you have all these people right at your fingertips that you can potentially build great relationships with from there.
Fantastic. Now let's talk about how do you track the success? How do you actually measure the KPIs of that partnership? What should you be measuring? How do you track? And what's kind of your recommendations there?
Yeah. So I would say if it comes to content specifically, of course, you want to see how the content performs. If you've produced a joint social media post with this person and the analytics way outperformed any other social media post you've done yourself, that's an indication that the content really resonated with your audience. But from a business standpoint, just look at how many sales they've helped to bring you. So if your referral partner has brought you 10 new clients or customers in 1 year that you would have never gotten on your own, that's a pretty successful partnership. And that number may increase or fluctuate throughout time. So I always say too, to of course kind of start on the lower end. If you get at least even just one client or customer each year from them, then that's a great start, because it's one is better than zero. And again, one that you potentially might not have gotten otherwise. But it's really helpful to see as you track each year all the referral partners that you have and how many clients they brought you. You're able to see which ones are the heavy hitters, quote unquote, and who are helping to bring you all that business. And that might be an indication to you that maybe you want to nurture a specific relationship a little bit more than others, just because they tend to constantly bring you these leads over and over again, compared to other referral partners who might just bring you one client here or there every so often.
Excellent. So let's kind of move into a little different direction. Obviously, when you're dealing with interpersonal relationships, sometimes you deal with challenges. So,
Mhm.
how do you avoid partnerships, first of all, that just simply don't align with your business values?
Yes, I think that before you should jump into a business relationship with someone, I think you really need to get to know them first. So before you even agree to working with someone or encourage the clients to agree to working with someone, I always recommend that they get to know that person. So look at their work. If they have case studies, or if they have a portfolio that showcases the work that they've done, get to know all of their work, get to look through their customer reviews and make sure that it's majority positive. I think get to know them as a person and ensure that there's someone that you actually would enjoy working with. and really get a feel for how you could potentially mesh together. I find that the best relationships are the ones that have kind of gotten to know each other on that human or personal level first before going into some type of business venture or project together in that sense. And then you're kind of set up on the right foot from there. I think kind of getting a little bit too excited, or a little bit too ambitious, and diving right into something without really getting to know the other person can make things a little bit difficult, because if the project goes wrong, then it reflects poorly on you to the client if you brought in that referral partner. So really making sure that you feel like you could trust someone, I think, is huge. I also think working styles are important. So if you're someone who's type A and the person that you're working with is very much not type A, you already know right off the bat that there's going to be some clashes from there. So really make sure you get to know the person before you agree to work with them in a professional capacity, and that will prevent any problems from happening in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And then you talked about, communication styles, one of those big things. Let's talk about also, how do you manage expectations? How do you set those? How do you make sure that expectations are being communicated properly and then also met as expected?
Absolutely. I think having some type of structured timeline or deadline or schedule to follow is incredibly important, especially if when it comes to the homeowner. They want to make sure that their projects are getting taken care of. And if it involves something like them closing on their home in order to get it done, you want to move as quickly as possible. And so I think being able to have written out within a timeline or within some type of calendar when these different stages or phases of each project should be completed, and ensures that everyone stays on track. I also think an important thing to note about partnerships as well is that maybe sometimes it's better to not actually go in and do it together, but actually have like a separate, I guess, separate contracts with the homeowner, whoever's hiring you. So I'll share it from an example of the marketing side from what we do. If I bring in someone else to a project to offer a service that I don't offer for a client, I don't necessarily white label them, which is pretty common in our industry, having them come under my agency and work under me, but instead actually have them have an entirely separate contract with the client, get paid themselves directly through the client, and ultimately keep things separate. And I think that kind of helps to provide more of a cushion for you personally, because they're not necessarily directly under you. And I think that kind of helps to protect yourself a little bit more if you have more of that separation, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great recommendation. I don't want our audience to miss this, that even though you're collaborating together, even though you're marketing together, keep a separate and distinct barrier that
Mm-hmm.
although we cooperate together, we recommend each other's services, we are unique in what we do. There is still
Yes.
that buffer, that barrier. I think that was one of the most valuable things you brought up here today, is that although it is a cooperative effort and a joint venture in some ways, we still want to keep
Yes.
that uniqueness. So that was a great piece of advice there. So let's kind of bring the plane around the land here. What are three immediate steps that one of our listeners could take to launch their first marketing partnership?
Yeah. First, I would say make a list of all of the potential partners you can think of. So whether it's vendors that you've collaborated with before just through similar projects, or vendors who are in your community who you think might be a good fit, and make sure you're following them on social media. Something as simple as following them on social media can help to kind of pique their interest, and get a little bit of excitement for the work that you do. I also think from there, think about what your customers or clients are looking for. As I mentioned earlier, if you're constantly hearing from your customers that they want to know who you recommend for a landscaper or who you recommend for an interior painter, that might be an indication to you of who you should look to for your next partner, because you're constantly getting asked about that over and over again. And then I think from there, being able to think about maybe even just one form of partnership marketing that you can do with these list of potential vendors that would be beneficial to both of you. So whether it's being able to simply tag them in a social media post you published of a project that you worked on together, or whether you decide to record a short video together that covers a few brief tips that their audience will benefit from. I think being able to think of a game plan and approach them with it, I think is huge for being able to get the ball rolling.
Excellent. And then any final advice that you have on building strong collaborations?
I think the biggest thing is to not put all of your eggs in one basket. I see this a lot with people who have built partnerships and they have this one partner who gives them tons and tons and tons of clients each year. And so they kind of ignore all of their other partners and go all in on that one partner. But say if that one partner goes out of business, what happens to your business then if they were the biggest source for your clients or your customers or your revenue? So I think being able to diversify your efforts and make sure that you're being able to nurture and build a sustainable number of partners. You don't want to have too many and overwhelm yourself or not be able to success from it. But I think being able to have a sustainable number of partners that you can kind of pull from as needed is very important. You never want to go all in on one thing and then potentially have the rug slipped out from underneath you in the future.
Absolutely. I think that's a great piece of advice, having lost joint venture partners along the way before. If that's all you're relying on, that's going to be very painful. So great advice,
Exactly.
Ashley. So where can our listeners connect with you? Where can they learn more about you?
Of course. My website is dashofsocial.com. In the footer of that website, you'll find links to all of our social media profiles. And of course, you're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn under my name, which is Ashley DiBiase.
Fantastic. Ashley, thanks for joining us today. And it's been great having you on this episode of the Digital Remodeler Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Carl.